Here to react, Trump's nominee for ambassador to Israel and former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor Huckabee, with this speech that we're going to hear from Joe Biden, he will embarrass himself, no?
He embarrasses himself every single day. Look what he said even to the reporter. He uses a level of profanity that, quite frankly, is disgusting for a public person to use in a knowing public place. But it's also embarrassing that he's waiting until the last week of his presidency to suddenly decide that he's going to come up with some foreign policy. I don't care who he knows, how many people. Everybody knows him, and what they know is he's not all there. I just can't imagine what great policy he's going to put on the table. And why would he wait till his last week? He needs to clear the deck, clear the stage, clean out his desk, and make preparation for the next president. That's what a decent person would do, not try to pretend that he's going to govern everything and make problems for Donald Trump right up until the moment that the oath of office is administered.
So, Governor, he is scheduled to give this speech on Monday, which will be exactly 1 week away from him exiting stage left. And maybe this will, I don't know, be a legacy speech on foreign policy to some extent, or some rhapsodizing about what he thinks ought to happen in the future. And with all due respect, it just kind of feels like, given the track record, looking in Eastern Europe, looking in the Middle East, looking at our southern border, when it comes to foreign policy, maybe the best approach is to just sit down and say nothing.
Well, if he's got to say something because he just can't contain himself, he needs to look backwards and tell us what he did for 4 years. That's what most people do when they're leaving office. They recite their accomplishments. He's not going to do that because he doesn't have any to really brag about. Very few people upon leaving office, I don't care what office it is, are trying to look forward and say, here's what I'm going to do in the next 6 days. It's absurd. It's embarrassing, and his staff ought to pull him aside, make sure he doesn't go out and give some speech that will embarrass him even more than he's been embarrassed, and somehow say, Mr. President, go out with a little dignity, go out with a little self-respect. Don't go out and humiliate yourself by pretending that you're going to shape foreign policy in your last 6 days after having done little of it in your first 4 years.
But and you're a minister, and I will try to keep it Christian and fall back on listen to my mother from on high and fall back on my Baptist roots. But Governor, Joe Biden is a cocktail of arrogance and incompetence. And at the end of it, as he exits stage far left, the arrogance overtakes him. And he somehow believes in his addled brain that he can reshape the perception of his disastrous 4 years in office with a few muddled words.
Well, he can't, and that's the sad part. It's a genuine tragedy that he thinks that he can rehabilitate 4 years of failed leadership in his final 6 days in office. That's why I say what he needs to do is to be gracious, be kind, be generous in his praise for the hope that he has for a new administration, even if he doesn't have it. That's just what you do. You hand the baton off. You don't try to hang on to it and say, by the way, I'm going to wave it around one more time before you take the oath. And I just can't imagine who around him thinks that this is a good idea and that they're not able to talk him out of it, because it really is a way to humiliate himself in his last days. And this is a president who doesn't need it. And quite frankly, look, I don't care for Joe Biden. I certainly don't like his policies, but I don't wish him harm. I don't wish him disaster. I just want him to go away.
Yep.
It's just that simple.
He could stand up there and say the names of the 13 service members who died on his watch during his disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. Say them out loud in front of the American people, because he's never done that. Governor Mike Huckabee and Ambassador Mike Huckabee. Well done, sir. We look forward to it. Thank you.